morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Thank you for your presence and time. Today we are about 140 of us representing about 29 countries. So thank you for your presence again. Our objective is definitely to bring biosecurity closer and alive to your operation. So therefore, biosecurity reinforced and hopefully securing your business continuity. So the program, and a few of you has been followed us since January. We have been through a few sessions on the biosecurity best practices. So kicking off with general aspect of biosecurity in January, followed by 5 principles for good biosecurity plan, and then a series of 3 parts on external biosecurity. First, purchasing and transport of animals, quarantine period, how to dispose carcasses, and then feed, water, surrounding of the farm. And the last one in May, entrance control and hygiene. Okay, so to achieve that, I'm sure that you remember we have invited the best in class in biosecurity from the veterinary faculty of Ghent University in Belgium, who has been, by the way, and we are very proud of it, as you can see, nominated first again for the 5th time in a row by GRAS, so the global ranking of academic subjects. And this is among 300 contestants. So a very good performance here. So the Department of Epidemiology is led by Professor Dewulf, who has spent 20 years in prevention disease field with focus on application of biosecurity. He has also published a book on the subject and of course on reduction of antibiotic usage. He is assisted by Nele Kakebeker. Nele has been very involved around also antimicrobial usage reduction, and she's in charge of training the international public. She's also part of the BioCheck team. Andy Bevat, new to the team and contributor to the e-learning module of biosecurity. And we have, of course, today also Plamen, Dr. Plamen Nikolov, our field specialist in biosecurity from Vilofoss. Dr. Nikolov brings more than 20 years of experience in animal health, nutrition, biosecurity, with lots of experience worldwide. So he will be sharing the application benefit of his preferred powder disinfectant called Stalosan F as a tool to support your biosecurity plan. So few words on the webinar. So we'll be together about 30 to 40 minutes. We propose to go first through the presentation. And during the presentation, if you have any urgent questions, so there is a feature there, you can record your question and we will come back at the end of the presentation. And in case we have not enough time to go through that, you will have the answer, as usual, posted in on Sanphar website. Okay, so right now, let's go to with the Professor Dewulf into cleaning and disinfection. Okay, so Professor, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna share my screen. So thank you, Harry, for this introduction, and welcome back to this series of webinars. Some of you might have seen me before in presenting some of the topics on biosecurity, and today we're going to talk about cleaning and disinfection. Of course, a very important component of a good biosecurity if we want to control infectious diseases in farms or in any environment. Actually, we need a good cleaning and disinfection protocol. And I'm going to talk you through this protocol And actually, we've divided the protocol into 7 different steps. And these 7 steps are gonna provide you with information at the farm level. But it's really almost everywhere it's the same procedure. So these 7 steps of cleaning and disinfection, they come back wherever you want to apply them, in slaughterhouses and in clean rooms and in hatcheries. Maybe some questions were about hatcheries. So the philosophy and the principles, they come back everywhere. So let's start with our first step. And the first step is always a dry cleaning and a removal of all the organic material. Before you start to clean the farm, you have to take away the organic materials. And that's quite logical, because if it's full of organic material, you cannot proper clean, and you can certainly not proper disinfect afterwards, because your disinfection will be neutralized by all the remaining organic material. It will also avoid that you can clean everything. So it's always an important first step, and I'll show it in this little movie where this is on a cattle farm, where all the organic material is removed, just to make sure that later on you can do a good cleaning. So we first step, remove organic material. Second step is the step of the soaking and the washing. And the soaking is that we will humidify, and we will put water on the surfaces, but not only water, also a soap, a detergent, a soap, and we really need this detergent, this soap, to be added to it, to enable to break down all the biofilms. So you can see it here at the bottom on this little figure, that on all these surfaces we have these biofilms. They are created as the fatty, and you need really a detergent to tear down this layer and to be able to access to the biofilm also later on with your disinfectant product. So I cannot emphasize enough that we need soap. And if you wonder why it is, well, if you do the dishes tonight and you want to know why you need soap, well, try to do the dishes without any soap. And you will notice that if you only use water without a detergent, it's going to be difficult to clean everything very nicely. And so, and a good application of a soap is that with these foaming applications, you can clearly see what has been covered, but also they stick for these applications. They stick for some time, which will enlarge the contact time. And the longer you have a contact time, the better your activity of your soap will be. Again, a small movie. Oh, sorry. That's it. Yeah. So again, a small movie showing you the application of this this detergent with the foam. Also all the materials, the equipment of the stables should be included. And then if you have a quite long contact time, it will ensure that you have a good effect of your washing step. Next step is the step number 3. Often people think this is step number 1, but it is the step number 3 already, and that's the high pressure cleaning with water to remove all the dirt. So and point is that if you've done step number 2, the soaking and the application of the detergent, if you've done step number 2 very well, step number 3 will go much faster. And so the time you lose, or the time you have to spend in step number 2, you will gain again in step number 3, because this process will go much more efficient and much faster if you've done a soaking step before. When you do the high pressure cleaning of the entire stable, always remember that you have to start to work from top to bottom. So you start with the ceiling, with the ventilation pipes and so on, and then start with the top, and then you gradually will move downwards. So you go down. If you do first the floor and later on the ceiling, you will contaminate your floor again. Also, do not forget to clean outside the stables where the loading area and things like that. They should also be included in this cleaning step. So yeah, that's a movie to show you this cleaning, and it shows you that if you've done the rinsing quite good, it goes easy. You can do this with hot water, you can do it with cold water. It doesn't really, in terms of efficacy, doesn't really matter so much. In terms of quality of labor, hot water or with a certain temperature might be more easy to apply, and for the people that have to do the work, it might be more convenient. Don't forget also to include, when you do the cleaning, don't forget to include also all the materials. So not only the stables, the floors, the ceilings, but also include all the working material that you have used or that you are using in your stables. And then comes the next step, and that's my step number 4, and that's a step that is very often forgotten about, and that's a step of drying. After you've done the cleaning, you really have to allow the surfaces, all your surfaces, to dry wet, and then later on you apply your disinfectant, you will get a dilution. You will get a dilution of a disinfectant, and you will get a lesser efficient working. So you need to have a dry surface first, before then secondly you can apply your disinfectant. And then we go to step number 5, and step number 5 is then the step of the disinfection. Again, something you can apply with this type of applicators, your disinfection. And again, also here it's nice if you have these foaming applications, because then you can clearly see that you have not forgotten anything, and that you have included everything, all parts of the surfaces for your disinfection. And also, if it's this foaming, it will stick longer, and the longer it sticks, the better it is for its working activities again. And so here you see again the application of a disinfectant, and this is in a sow stable or farrowing crates. And you see they also include the walls, they include all the crates, so have a nice, and with this foam it will stick to the walls for a longer period of time, and during this period it sticks to the wall, it has his disinfectant activity. Another small movie to show this, where again all the materials and the floors and the walls are disinfected. And here again we make emphasis about the contact time. Try to have a long enough contact time of your disinfected with all the surfaces, and the longer your contact time is, the better your disinfection action will be. So this is my step number 5 already. And in between, I'll come back to 6 and 7 later on, but in between I'll maybe just make a small additional piece of information, and that's about to determine how much product do I need? How much product do I need for disinfection and for cleaning? Well, to be able to calculate this, you need to know the dimensions of your stable. Assume we have a broiler stable of 24 meters of length, of width, 75 meters of length. So a stable of 1,800 square meters. And that's my, it's a traditional broiler stable, I would say. Well, Next, I need to consider the complexity of the stable. Is it a stable with a lot of walls, a lot of equipment inside, or is it a quite like a broiler stable? It's quite simple, I would say. A stable of layers is more complex. You have lots of infrastructure. Also in cattle, you might have more infrastructure in the maternity pen in pigs, what we've seen on the video, and there is more infrastructure. Well, depending on the complexity, we will use a multiplication factor. So in a broiler stable, we have 1800 square meters. Well, then we will multiply it by 3 to determine how much surface we have to clean and disinfect, because we also have the walls, we have the ceiling. So to include everything, we have this multiplication factor. So I have 1800 square meters multiplied by 3 is 5,400 square meters. Then, with regard to the solution, we count with 1/4 liter per square meter. So if I have 5,400 square meters and I have 1/4 liter per square meter, I need 1,350 liters of solution. That's mainly water, of course. So that's the volume of water I will need. And then, depending on the product you use, and there's different products on the market, and these different products, they will tell you use it at a half percent, 1%, 2% concentration. Well, depending on the required concentration, assume that I use a product that we need at 1%. Well, 1% of 1,350 liters is 13.5 liters. So to disinfect this table, by this simple calculation, I can predict that I will need around 13.5 liters of disinfection product for my entire stable. So that's a way to easily calculate how much product you need. Okay, coming back to my 7 steps. My 5th step was my disinfecting, truly disinfecting my stables. My 6th step again is a step of waiting, a step of drying. This additional drying step is to make sure that we have no leftovers, reminders of the disinfectant product when the new animals come in, just to avoid that, for instance, in the feeding tours or in the drinking tours, that there is reminders of disinfectant which the new animals can come into contact with and might potentially be harmful. And then my last step is my step of the testing of the efficacy. And that's a step we not necessarily always do, but often we will test this efficacy to make sure that we've done a good process, that we've done a good cleaning and disinfection. And to do that, we can take this samples. We can do it also with swabs. You can also do it with this contact samples to see how much colonies of bacteria are still growing on the plates. And in this little movie, again, I can show you that this is the contact plates. You just press the plate to the surface. You can do that on different locations. You write down the place where it has been taken, and then afterwards you put in a simple breeding oven for bacteria, and 1 day later you can read the outcome of the bacterial plates, the counts of bacteria growing, and based on this you can determine whether you've done a good or only a bad cleaning and disinfection process. So this is a very efficient way of evaluating how good you've been working. So let's summarize all of this. So, and this is a study we've done in the poultry stables. So before we do the cleaning, we have around 80,000 bacteria per square centimeter. For every small square centimeter, we have around 80,000 bacteria, or to put it differently, 10 to the 5th bacteria per square centimeter. After my cleaning, I can reduce this 80,000 to 800. So that's a reduction with 100 times. We go from 10 to the 5th to more or less 10 to the 3rd. So it's 100 times reduction of my level of contamination of my surface. So that's quite important, a quite big reduction. In my next step, and my disinfection step, I will go down another 30 times. I go from 800 to 25 bacteria. So in the combination of cleaning and disinfection, I go from 80,000 bacteria per square centimeter to 25 bacteria per square centimeter. So you see a very important reduction. But what you also should notice that after a disinfection, there is still some bacteria left. So in farming circumstances, we do not go to sterile conditions. That's different if you work in slaughterhouses or in food manufacturing plants. You really have to go lower, and you can go almost to sterile conditions. In farming conditions, that's almost impossible. But what we try to do is to go to levels that are low enough for the animals to cope with. So it's not sterile, but it is heavily reduced in the bacterial load or in the microbiological load. Another conclusion we can take is that really the cleaning has the most important effect. So this is divided by 100, here it's only divided by 32. So I cannot emphasize enough, you need to have a cleaning and disinfection step. Only disinfecting without good cleaning is not going to give you the effect you want. So you first need a good cleaning, and then secondly you can add a disinfection to come to the combined effect, the combined effect on the reduction. But really the cleaning, and sometimes it's forgotten because people think about it as basic, as simple, but the cleaning is a very important component. So to summarize my 7 steps, remove all the organic material, soak with a detergent, do a high pressure cleaning, have sufficient time for drying, then do a disinfection on a dry surface. That's a basic principle. When you do disinfection, always do disinfection on a dry surface. Then again, have a step of drying, and then finally do some testing to see whether you've done your cleaning and disinfection in an appropriate manner, and to see whether you got the effect you wanted to have. So that was my short overview of the whole process of cleaning and disinfection. And of course, I'm very open to answer any of the questions you might have. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. Thank you, Professor Dewulf. So it is clear that a good cleaning and disinfectant, we all need to follow a very strict protocol, right? So this is the takeaway, and of course, not to forget about testing what we have done. So testing the efficacy of this cleaning and disinfectant. So now we are moving to Dr. Plamen, who is going to share with us Stalosan F benefit into that operation. Plamen?
Okay, thank you very much, Harry. I fully agree with Professor Dewulf with the 7 steps, and especially the stress on checking the efficacy of cleaning and disinfection. On the picture below, you can see that if you don't check properly what exactly you have done with the cleaning, you can still have some problems, some leftovers from organic material, which may remain, and actually they can compromise the following disinfection. It is also necessary to think about how to apply the disinfectants, because as you can see on the picture on the high left side of the screen, just disinfecting the tires of the motorcycle is not enough to ensure a proper cleaning and disinfection of the whole vehicle, and especially the person who is driving the vehicle. It is also necessary to take in mind the weather conditions. On the top right side of the slide, you can see a disinfectant solution which has frozen because it was applied during the winter time when the temperatures are very low. So in this case, actually, this is a solution which is not effective anymore. Maybe the most important thing with liquid disinfection is that actually it is not available during the production cycle because once you introduce the new liter or just people who install the new equipment entering the house, the disinfection effect actually disappears. So with this in mind, I can offer you an optional disinfectant called Stalosan F. It is a broad spectrum disinfectant in powder form. It is not diluted in the water. It is actually applied as it is. And we have a very good proven efficacy of the product. It is specially designed for application in presence of animals, means that actually we do not offer Stalosan F to replace the liquid terminal cleaning and disinfection procedures, but just to follow up the terminal cleaning and disinfection procedures. And actually it provides the protection of the animals during the whole production cycle. It is also active in presence of organic materials, so it can remain effective for more than 7 days, no matter of conditions. It is also not toxic for the animals and people, and it is also safe for the environment. I just want to say that we already have over 50 years of experience with Stalosan F, and we export the product to more than 50 countries around the world. We also made some in vitro testing. So you can see here the list of bacteria, fungi, viruses, parasites, and fly larvae where we have tested and we found the product effective. One of the latest actually tests came from Brazil. It has been tested against Isospora suis. So you can see on the left-hand side of the screen that Stalosan is very effective in killing the spores, the oocysts of Isospora suis. Within 48 hours, we can reach 90 to 97% with high organic load from 3 to 7%. And it also for 48 hours can inhibit the sporulation of the coccidia between 62 and 66%. So again, it proves that actually Stalosan is effective within the time. It doesn't have a very short efficacy timing, contact time, but it can be used for a longer period. On the right-hand side is also a test against Eimeria cervulina, which is important coccidia with poultry. So again, with 50 grams for 24 hours, Stalosan can give a 50% reduction of sporulation rate of coccidia. So the second advantage of Stalosan application during the production is actually its efficacy against ammonia. Why it is important? Because actually ammonia is irritant to the eyes and respiratory tract, and it can damage the mucose of the respiratory tract in very high concentrations. It could be also even a very little to the animals. It is important also that ammonia is a neurotoxin which blocks the appetite, so the animals does not consume enough feed, so the production results are not optimal. Ammonia actually is also the weapon which pathogen bacteria use to penetrate the healthy skin. As you know, the healthy skin is covered by oily, acidic, waxy material called sebum. And actually, pathogen bacteria use the ammonia to destroy this protective layer and penetrate the skin of the animals. The advantage of Stalosan F is that actually it is acidic product, which adding value actually to the neutral barrier function of the skin. And very importantly, when animal gets into contact with Stalosan F, actually gives very bad conditions for growing of the pathogenic bacteria. The other advantage of Stalosan is that actually it doesn't need to dry out the building during the application or after the application. So this could be an advantage in countries where the humidity of the air is very high and drying of the building is taking very long time, which can actually disrupt the production period of the building. And you can see actually it gives a very good, nice covering of the surfaces and protects the animals against getting sick. Stalosan can also be used in front of the farms or animal houses to disinfect the booths, because actually sometimes people, when they're in a hurry, they don't clean very properly their booths. So liquid disinfectants can be compromised in this case. So what are the advantages of the disinfection with Stalosan F? Actually, we can effectively cut the transmission of disease across the farm, and we can improve the animal health and reduce the mortality using Stalosan F. Of course, when you have a healthy animals, then we can reduce the medication, the cost of medication, and most importantly, we can reduce the antibiotic use, which is a major concern nowadays, and we can improve the animal welfare, reducing the moisture and ammonia on the litter. Actually, those effects of Stalosan F leads to a better production results and better feed conversion, and actually they contribute to the more efficient farm management. It is actually a small investment in biosecurity, which resulting in more profit for the animal producers. So that's my presentation. Thank you for your attention, and I'm ready to answer your questions.
Thank you. Thank you, Plamen, for sharing the key feature of Stalosan F. So now it is your time. Let's do Q&A. And I would like to come back straight to you, Plamen. We have actually two questions, but I believe that it is you can answer both of them in the same time. Is to know whether there are specific requirements for poultry breeder farm in biosecurity management, and also to GP farm, so grandparent farm. So any specific? So Plamen is for you.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Harry. Actually, regarding parent flocks and grandparent flocks, it is very important to follow biosecurity rules and establish a biosecurity system which is really very strict, because actually this is the way how to prevent of transmitting of diseases in a vertical way, means from grandparents to the parents and from parents to the broilers. So there are no any specific additional requirements for biosecurity system for GP and parent flocks, but they should be followed very strictly. And this is, I think, is most important in biosecurity in general.
Thank you, Plamen. So now a question for you, Professor Dewulf. How to evaluate the internal biosecurity, and what about the item needed to audit for the vets?
Yeah, well, that's a good question, and it's also something that will come back later on in this course of this list of trainings. But I can refer actually to the biocheck system. The biocheck.ugent system is a scoring system that we have developed at Ghent University that is freely available on the website. I will put the link in the website or on the chat here so that everybody can see it. But it is actually a questionnaire you can run through, and after you've run through the questionnaire, you'll get a score. You will get a score both for external biosecurity components and for internal biosecurity components, and even more subdivided into different subcomponents. So for instance, there will be a scoring for your cleaning and disinfection procedure based on the answers that you have given. And these biocheck scoring systems are truly the starting point for later on then to see, okay, these are the strong parts of this farm, but these are the weak points of the farm, and based on these weak points, you can suggest improvements. Right? So it makes the whole biosecurity a bit more tangible, a bit more measurable, and that's it's a very good addition and a very good help to see where your weak points are and how you can improve everything.
Thank you, Professor Dewulf. So definitely the biocheck is going to be one of the focus at the end of this series, and then we will come back even later on, because doing a good evaluation of what we are doing every day is a key part of the strategy in biosecurity. So Professor Dewulf, I would like to keep you again longer. We have a question for you, I believe. Do we need to rotate disinfectant as fear of developing resistance for the use?
It's a very good question, and it's a question that comes back a lot. And the simple answer is no. So I can be quite confident on that one. There is very little resistance to disinfected products in the field. In theory and in the lab, we can generate it, we can create it. If you have disinfected products that are only working on one single mechanism of disinfection, but many disinfectant products are actually a blend where you have different components in there to have the synergetic effect of the disinfectant, and then we've never seen resistance coming up. I've had 2 PhD students on this, so we've done a lot of research on this, searching very, very carefully to find resistance against disinfectant, and we could not find it. However, important, sometimes you see that disinfection does not work as you want it to work. And if that is the case, you have to go back to your protocol, because there's a lot of mistakes, as Plamen also illustrated, a lot of mistakes you can make in the protocol. If your stables are still fully dirty and then you're going to start disinfectant, it will not work as you want it to work. If you use the wrong concentrations, if you use too low concentrations, it's not going to work properly. If you disinfect on a humid solid, on a wet surface, you will get a dilution again. Your disinfectant are not going to work. So often when you see a poor efficacy of your disinfection, it's not because of the product is not good, but it's because your procedure, the way you have used it, is generally not good.
Thank you, Professor Dewulf. And I feel the heat of your engagement into a no answer. So we will keep you again. We have a question about so any recommendation of on cleaning and disinfection practices in hatchery level, any specific?
Yeah. So hatcheries are I would say a complex environment. So we have eggs coming in. Well, actually, your biosecurity there already starts in your breeder farms, where you have to have healthy hens producing healthy eggs coming in, and they stay there. So there's a lot of components of biosecurity in the hatchery, and maybe I can just. You referred already to the book, and I have this book here. I think you can see it. It's the book on biosecurity, and it has a separate chapter actually on biosecurity in hatcheries, where things are described in a lot of details. But to come specifically about cleaning and disinfection, well, it's again these important 7 steps that I've mentioned, but you have to be maybe even more strict in a hatchery. have to be very careful with all little cracks and parts where bacteria can hide, or parasites or viruses can hide. And so you have to do the cleaning and disinfection even more thoroughly. What we sometimes advise when you really want to go to a higher level of disinfection is that you do a second round of disinfection. So you do your cleaning, drying, you have a disinfection, again drying, and you do a second round of disinfection to be even more confident that everything is covered. So that is what you can do. But the principles are the same as what I've described before.
Very good, very good. Thank you for emphasizing this cleaning and following the protocol very closely. So now maybe a last question for Plamen. It is about stalosan. So what composition of stalosan that makes it effective in controlling flies?
Thank you, Harry. Actually, stalosan uses the synergic effect of different components. It is based actually on minerals, and one of the efficacy of stalosan against to control flies is that actually it is capable to kill the larvae of the flies when they're hatching from the manure. So this is on the first place. And secondly, actually we have a fragrance in the product which works as a repellent. So we also can reduce the number of flies in the air and consecutively the number of eggs which are actually laid in the manure. So this is the effect of stalosan against flies, or to control the fly population in the farm.
Very good. Thank you, Plamen. Thank you, Professor Dewulf, for your time and your commitment to make the subject very clear. So that's it for the program today. So thank you again for your time, all of you. See you next month for our rendezvous with Dr. Vervat. So he will be back with us also, and we will be starting or continuing the internal biosecurity part 2 and jumping into the disease management and stocking density. So it's going to be one of those topics of biosecurity, very sensitive. Okay, so looking forward to have you all around. Thank you and bye for now.